Dear Microsoft, please let Obsidian develop the next Fallout game. Look, if you're a fan of New Vegas, then you know why it's better than the other 3D Fallout games. It's because it wasn't made by Bethesda at all, but outsourced to Obsidian to make. With people who worked on Fallout 1 and 2 at the helm, and a better design philosophy than Bethesda's, New Vegas, in this loser's opinion, became a benchmark title of the medium. The game's strength lay in its incredible writing, with complex characters interwoven into a tangled mess of post-apocalyptic political ideologies. Hell, if I want to take a litmus test of someone's political views and values, it's just as easy as asking which faction they support in the game. While the impact of the writing on me is something I can only qualify subjectively, I think the fact that people to this day are in a constant debate over which faction is the best for the future of the game's world is evidence enough. But New Vegas benefits the most from being built on top of the engine used for Fallout 3, making it both accessible and fun, being built on the back of what was a solid third-person shooter for the time. Of course, Fallout 4 takes the credit of being the first Fallout game that has fun third-person shooting sections, but we all know that we don't come to Western RPGs for lots of fun murder time. No, I think that Western RPGs are made or broken by their writing, and this has been a department where Bethesda has repeatedly dropped the ball. Let me break this down. If D&D is just a step up from telling your own story and pretending you're one of the characters in your head, then the purpose of Western RPGs is to be a step up from D&D. And who the hell gets excited by D&D combat? Yeah, okay, I've known some guys that get hyped up by combat, but those guys are nerds. Anyway, my point is that Western RPGs are supposed to be providing an experience that, while making a few concessions due to the finite nature of games, is a step up from D&D. And that experience starts with letting me play in a world that is both compelling to exist in and influence. So let's see how Bethesda chooses to handle factions in a game they had full control over, Skyrim. Skyrim's setting is interesting, dropping the player's character right into the middle of a heated civil war, with two hopefully compelling factions for the player. You can pick between the Stormcloaks, a group of Skyrim's Nords forged together by their shared ethnicity and desire to be free from the authoritarian restrictions of the Empire, and the Imperial Legion, who want to keep Skyrim under the authoritarian thumb of the Empire. Yeah, I wonder which faction most players picked. Meanwhile, in New Vegas, when the player finally gets the chance to speak with the seemingly unambiguously evil Caesar, the player can question his ideology down to its fundamental arguments. It's a difference in attention to detail, and one that matters. Skyrim is a very pretty game, and I've had plenty of fun playing it, we've all had, but exploration slapped on top of some mediocre combat and a progression system isn't what I think should be the appeal of RPGs. So why am I ranting about all this? Well, let me run you through a brief history of Obsidian and Bethesda's relationship. The Fallout license was bought by Bethesda back in 2004 when Interplay went bankrupt. Cut forward to 2009 and Fallout New Vegas is announced, a game which would use Fallout 3's engine but be developed by Obsidian, a company founded by ex-staff from Black Isle Studios, the creators of the isometric Fallout games. Obsidian had 18 months to make the game, and tried to incorporate as much content as they could into the game, but given its scope, glitches weren't ironed out by release, and the game came out as a nearly unplayable mess. Patches were hurled out onto the world from Bethesda and Obsidian, but not everything could be fixed, with many problems having to be solved by fan-made mods, and the 360, but especially the PS3 version, staying playable, but very buggy messes. The PS3 version is so fucked up that if your save file becomes too big, the game starts to have serious frame rate issues, incredibly tedious loading times, and constant crashes. Look, there's a diamond beneath all the rough, and I think the game is still incredible on consoles, but it's not a good look to release a game overflowing with technical problems. The end result was that the critics of the day didn't give the game the score it rightly deserved, with a Metacritic score averaging 84, 1 point shy of the agreed-upon score that Bethesda wanted the game to meet for Obsidian to get any royalties from the game. With Obsidian burnt and Bethesda printing more and more money, it made less sense for Bethesda to outsource their license when they could keep and develop everything in-house. The players that stuck around would pronounce the glory of New Vegas, and eventually public opinion on the game flipped to remember it as fondly as it is now, but our chances of ever seeing a proper sequel to the game seem like they would always and forever be zero. Until this week. It was announced that Microsoft has bought Bethesda, a pretty big dick move seeing as how huge Bethesda is, especially now, and at first I thought nothing of it. Who cares, I thought. I don't give a fuck about Bethesda. They take cool properties and make them lame, even ones they've created themselves. Until a kind man on Twitter pointed out to me, Microsoft also owns Obsidian. Microsoft now has the remaining members of the team that made New Vegas, including its director, and the license to Fallout at their disposal. It seems like it's just a matter of putting the two together. So this is my plea, Bill. Please make New Vegas 2. I want it. The fans want it. And most importantly, you'll make the successor that New Vegas deserves. But until then, thank you everybody for watching. Please subscribe to me! My ego must be satisfied.